Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so last class we had discussed something about the continuous time signals, and I had mentioned to you that our first chapter in this course is discrete time signals. So let us start a little bit about discrete time signals and look at the differences from continuous time signals. So this will be our topic today. So we can obtain a discrete time signal from a continuous time counterpart by using sampling, and generally we study uniform sampling. That means we are sampling at a constant width. That width is the sampling period, TS, that is the time between two samples, and we say that we are doing uniform sampling. So all our DSP is built on uniform sampling, but today we talk about various other forms of sampling also. So just to give you an idea, today we talk about random sampling. That means we are picking up samples from a continuous time signal at random positions. And there is mathematics which has come up in the last 10 years, which can provably demonstrate that even with random samples, you can reconstruct the signal to an arbitrary level of accuracy. Okay, so it is not only uniform sampling, but there are other ways of sampling also. But to keep the matter simple, we study uniform sampling in this course. So the notation here is important. X of t in round brackets or is the notation for continuous time signals, and x of n in square brackets is always the notation for a discrete time signal. A lot of times I find that in vivas and in interviews, people start writing x of n with round brackets. Never do that. So x of n has to always be written with square brackets, and it is derived from x of t by x of nts, or uniform sampling. How to do sampling, what happens with sampling, all that we'll study in a separate chapter. So this is just an idea. So sampling frequency is denoted as fs, which is equal to 1 by ts, and in terms of the angular notation, it is written as 2 pi into fs equal to omega s. So this is the samples of a continuous time signal. So the width or the distance between two samples is the sampling period, Ts. So let us look at discrete sinusoids and let us think how they are different from continuous time sinusoids. Okay? So there is definitely a difference between continuous time sinusoids and discrete sinusoids. All discrete sinusoids, although they are obtained from continuous sinusoids, they need not be periodic. So this is something which is strange, but it's true. So the general notation for writing a cosine in the discrete domain is given like this. Can you see the cursor? So it is a times cosine 2 pi f naught n plus theta, where f naught is kept in capital, or it is written as a cos capital omega naught n plus theta. So there is a difference between this particular omega.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Can you see the cursor?
actually some people are still waiting in the lobby. Can you please accept their request?
Only one person is there. Tanu Saraf. Nobody else is there. Only one person.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so can you see my cursor, please? This is omega s, where omega is a small. This is a small Greek letter omega. See, in DSP, we use various kinds of Greek letters. and we have to be very careful regarding those Greek letters. So here, this particular omega is the capital Greek letter omega. So we are going to represent the discrete sinusoid with this notation, capital omega. So A cos 2 pi f naught with f capital and A cos omega naught with omega capital Greek letter. So a discrete time sinusoid need not always be periodic, although a continuous time sinusoid is a periodic signal. So if a sinusoid has the form, this particular formula, then f naught must be a ratio of integers, a rational number for Gn to be periodic. That is the condition, that f naught always has to be a rational number for Gn to be periodic. So if f naught is rational in the form q by n naught, where q and n naught are relatively prime, that means all common factors in q and n naught have been cancelled, then the fundamental period of the discrete sinusoid is n naught. Okay, so this is something that I want you to know. Have you been taught this in your signals and systems class? Those who have gone through signals and systems course, have you been taught this? Was this idea given to you? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is something that is important in DSP, and a lot of times students get confused. So we need to be careful about this. So let us look at some examples, and let us see one example where the sinusoid, discrete sinusoid, is aperiodic. Hmm. So are you able to see the slide, or what shall I do with this? Shall I zoom it? I don't know how to show you the slideshow. Let me try to.
Hello,
Are you
sir.
able to see? Yeah, are you able to see the notation, or
Sir, for presenting the slideshow, you can present the whole screen rather than just the window.
Yeah,
Only
that's
then
what
it
I'm
will.
going to try. That's what I'm going to try right now. I'm first stopping the sharing, then I will try that. Okay. Okay. Again, I'm going to do the.
Hello.
Are you able to see my screen?
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Let me just. Yeah, can you now see the pictures in full screen?
Yes, sir. You can see.
Okay. So now you see the sine 2 pi f naught n, where
So
f
now
naught is.
we are going for sinusoids.
I'm
Up,
getting
man.
some noise here. I'm getting some noise here. Okay, are you able to see this? So f naught is equal to 1 by 16. So because it is a rational number, 1 by 16, so this one is a sinusoid, a discrete signal. Then the next one is f naught equal to 2 by
Excuse me,
16.
gentlemen.
So again, it is a periodic
I didn't
signal.
understand.
Then the third one you see, this is f naught equal to 11 by 16. This is also a periodic signal because 11 and 16 are relatively prime to each other, and the ratio is a rational number. But the last one, that is the rightmost second row, second column, is an aperiodic signal because there is a factor pi sitting there. So pi is an irrational number. So the ratio pi by 16 is irrational. Therefore, it is a non-periodic signal, although it looks periodic. All of you can see that it is appearing to be a periodic signal, but it is not. Again, another aperiodic signal. So sinusoids in discrete time have to be dealt with carefully. So one more idea about sinusoids. The two sinusoids whose analytical expressions look different. For example, if the frequency is f01 for one discrete sinusoid and it is f02 for another discrete sinusoid, they may actually be the same if f02 and f01 are related by this formula. So even if there are two different sinusoids appearing with two different frequencies, but if those frequencies are related by this formula, they are identically same.
এই বাড়া চুপ করে থাক না।
So again, there is another ambiguity here. So f02 is equal to f01 plus m. So this is one more idea that we should be careful about. That two discrete sinusoids, they can masquerade as the same sinusoid. So f02 is equal to f01 plus m. So why is this happening? Because if you multiply 2 pi with this on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side, you see that you will get a factor 2 pi into m. So cos of 2 pi into m, it is again like it will give you the same signal. So then because n is discrete time, therefore you will get the same sinusoid. So this is what we should again be careful about, that if two frequencies appear to be different but they are related by this formula, then the discrete sinusoids are also the same. So again, some examples here. So if you see here, 2 pi nt by 5 is the original signal, and you have 12 pi n by 5 as the other signal. So are you able to see the second one? Is everyone able to see the second discrete sinusoid? Compare it with the first sinusoid and only look at the discrete samples. Are you able to see that? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So are you able to see that all the values are identical, although the dotted signal is different? Can you see that all the values, the amplitudes in the second signal, they are identical to the amplitudes of the first signal? Is it true?
Yes, sir.
Only the analog equivalent, that is the time continuous time equivalent shown by the dotted line, that seems to be different. So this is a peculiar case for discrete time sinusoids. I hope all this would have been covered in your signals and systems course. I hope the teachers would have shown you these kind of pictures and they would have told you visually how this happens. If you read in a formula, that is fine, but visually how this actually happens, that also one should know. So if you see, there are various signals with different frequencies and they are all related in the first row and the second row. So the first row, first column, if you see, this is a f equal to 0. That is, this is a DC signal. So f is equal to 0, x of n. So this is a DC signal. Now it is getting sampled at many places. And if you see the second signal in the second row, f is equal to 1. So if you see the samples are the same, but the analog signal appears to be different compared to the first one. So this is how we get an idea about how the discrete sinusoids are interrelated with each other. If you that formula which relates the second frequency with the first frequency, f02 is equal to f01 plus m, where m is an integer. Okay. So this is how we are going to understand that two sinusoids can be similar to each other, identical to each other, even though the frequencies are different. So if you see, for each of these discrete sinusoids, the difference in the frequency is an integer. So here it is 0.25, here it is 1.25. Similarly, here it is 0.5, here it is 1.5, and 0.75 and 1.75. So it is a integer. So as I
What
said
the
here,
fuck, man?
f02 is equal to f01 plus m.
तेरी
2
बट्टी
is
का
equal to f01 plus m. So m is an integer. So if you see, there is the relationship between the two sinusoids are given by this expression where m is an integer.
I paid the fees, don't mute me.
Okay, so we have this relationship between two different discrete sinusoids. Now let us come to exponentials. So as I've said in the previous class about exponentials, that they are supposed to be the eigenfunctions of an LTI system, and eigenfunctions, they are coming from differential equations. So continuous time signals, they are the eigenfunctions of continuous time LTI systems. So similarly, these discrete exponentials will be the eigenfunctions of a discrete LTI system. So x of n is equal to a into alpha to the power n, where this is the preferred way of writing a exponential. Okay, and we can write alpha as e to the power beta, where alpha can be either real or it can be complex. So you can have real exponentials and you can have complex exponentials. So particularly you note one case where alpha is greater than -1 and less than 0. So this sinusoid, this exponential is in both the domains, the plus the positive side as well as in the negative side, and it is slowly getting damped out as you move along the n axis. If you have complex alpha, that is a into e power j beta m, okay, in that case you will have both the real part and the imaginary part, and for various magnitudes of alpha you will have different behavior for the real part and for the imaginary part. So last class I had talked about the unit impulse or the Dirac delta impulse, that is delta of t. Okay, so that was for continuous time, and I had said that the Dirac delta is a generalized function, that is, it is not a normal function, but and because of that being a generalized function, the Dirac delta has a scaling property, that is delta of a into t minus t naught is equal to 1 by mod of a into delta of t minus t naught. So that scaling property is not for a common function. It can only be described for a generalized function. So here we again describe the unit impulse function for the discrete time case, but the name of this unit impulse function is Kronecker delta to distinguish it from the Dirac delta. Now, last time I said that the Dirac delta is not defined at t equal to 0. All of you know this, that delta of t is undefined at t equal to 0. Although you are showing the plot of unit impulse at time t equal to 0, delta of t, but it is actually undefined at time t equal to 0. It has an area of 1, but it is not defined at time t equal to 0. So in this case, we don't have so much problem mathematically. It is a simple expression. Delta of n is equal to 1 for n equal to 0 is 0 for n not equal to 0. Okay, so there is a difference from the Kronecker delta to the Dirac delta. So this is something that I just wanted to tell you because we are in the beginning part of the course. So all of you should know this. So in Vivas or in comprehensive Vivas, generally I see students not able to answer. So we have to be careful about Dirac delta and Kronecker delta. So the sampling property or the shifting property of the Dirac delta can also be translated to the Kronecker delta. So if you see here, you are able to sample one like time index or one particular sample out of x of n, the entire signal, you can sample it out by using a Kronecker delta placed at n equal to n naught. So A into delta of n minus n naught into xn is equal to A into xn naught. So it has no scaling property. So if you see the scaling property, it is just delta of n is equal to delta of an. It is not 1 by mod A into delta of n minus n. It's not like that. So it is just delta of n is equal to delta of an. So now the unit sequence function, it is the analogous form for the unit step function. So u of t was the unit step function in continuous time, and u of n is the unit sequence function. So it is just simply defined as the sampled version of u of t. The signum function, and here you see there's one peculiarity in the signum function, that it is equal to 0 at n equal to 0. Although it is an odd signal, but it is 0 at n equal to 0. So these are some of the things that you should mark from the continuous time, that how it is different from the continuous time. In the unit ramp function, it is again related to the unit step function. So it is n times u of n, and it can be obtained as a cumulative sum, that is minus infinity to n u of n minus 1 of the unit step function. The ramp function can be obtained as a cumulative sum. In the periodic impulse function, so last time I had introduced this, I had used the notation delta subscript capital T bracket small t. You see your notes, that was the notation that I had used. There the notation capital T in the subscript was used to denote the time period of that periodic impulse function. Here the time period is capital M. So you have delta of n minus small m into capital M. Okay. So this is a periodic impulse function, delta subscript capital M of small m. Now the previous expression, this particular expression is useful to represent the discrete signal in the general form. That we will understand a little bit later. How to write x of n using the periodic impulse function. Then again the ideas of scaling and shifting. We had discussed this, and we can again try to see like how the formulas are interrelated for continuous time and for discrete time. So suppose you have this g of n. I had shown you last time the same waveform, but that was a continuous time waveform. So here again the samples are the same at different time instants. So if you take a look at the previous example, the signal is the same. So it is rising from -1 up to the value 10 in discrete time, and then it falls off drastically back to 0. So this is the signal. Then we can achieve time shifting either on the left side by n plus n naught or n minus n naught. Okay, is it clear till now? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
So we can achieve time compression. That is, we can multiply n with k times n, where k is an integer greater than 1. So that will compress the signal. And if I have n by k, then it will dilate the signal. So you see here, this is g of 2n. So it is having only half the width, and so one thing to note that whenever you multiply k with n, k can be something which is non-integer also. Can be say 1.5 into n. So what happens for fractional values of n? So it is simple. Fractional values of n are not defined. So g of n is only defined for integer values, not for fractional values. So suppose you had 1.5 into n, so you will have the first value at g of 0, the second value at g of 1.5 n, 1.5. The g of 1.5 is not defined, so that will remain 0. So if you have g of 3, then that will be defined. So we have to be careful about this, that k is an integer greater than 1. Okay. So we have to choose an integer, not a fraction. And suppose somebody gives you k as a fraction, then we have to worry about how to plot the signal. Signal is only there where there are integer values. Index is integer. So we can do a time expansion if we divide by the value capital K, where k is greater than 1. So for all n such that n by k is an integer, g of n by k is defined. For all n such that n by k is not an integer, g of n by k is not defined. So this is something important to note. So again, x of n by m, where see this, we will learn of two different kinds of change of the index, the time index, which is called interpolation and decimation. So whatever I just showed you, that is time expansion and time contraction, those are technically called interpolation and decimation. That is downsampling. Whenever you are compressing the signal, or you are uh, having n as n, k times n, you are compressing the signal. So we are dropping away some of the signal amplitudes. So we are dropping away some of the values in the signal. So that is called downsampling. That is also called decimation. And whenever you are introducing new values into the signal by expanding the signal, then that is called interpolation. So we will worry about this when we come to the sampling chapter. So this is the idea that x of n by m, where n by m is an integer and 0 otherwise. So this kind of idea is called interpolation. Now, where is interpolation used? So whenever you have a small picture, say you take a small picture with a bad mobile camera. So maybe a 5 megapixel camera, and you want to now increase the size of the picture. So you have various softwares. Maybe you use Adobe Photoshop, and you use some kind of a function in that Adobe Photoshop. That is, you are trying to interpolate the signal. That means you are introducing new amplitudes where they did not exist. So when you try to do that, you have to resort to different algorithms. So there are many algorithms for interpolation. The easiest algorithm is copying. So you are just copying and pasting the values of the amplitudes which are in the neighborhood of the signal where you want to interpolate. So for example, you want to interpolate the value of x of 3. So you will just copy paste the value at x of 2 at x of 3. So that is the easiest way to increase the size of a signal. So that is called nearest neighbor interpolation. There are other ways, more sophisticated. So there is something called bilinear interpolation. So you will take two neighbors of the signal at x of n, and that is x of n plus 1 and x of n minus 1. Then you will use those two values to find out the value at x of n. So you will take an average of x of n minus 1 and x of n plus 1 and put it at x of n. That is something that you can also do. So you can do something maybe more advanced. So you can fit a higher order polynomial to the neighborhood of x of n, and then you can try to estimate what is the value at x of n when you want to interpolate. So this is something that I'm just telling you because nowadays everybody uses mobile cameras and they use this Adobe Photoshop or whatever software to change the resolution of the image. So the number of samples is also called the spatial resolution. So maybe those who are taking digital image processing, they would understand what is spatial resolution. So here it is resolution in the time domain. N is the time domain. So in an image, it will be space. It will be x and y axis. It will be position. The pixel position at a particular place, say m comma n, it has to be estimated from the neighbors if you want to interpolate. So this is an idea. Decimation throws away values. Interpolation introduces new values. Throwing away is easier. Whenever you throw away signal values, you are losing information. So losing information is easy, but creating new information is difficult. The interpolation is a difficult task, something that you should understand. So now we learned about differentiation and integration in continuous time. So what are the analogous operations in the discrete time? So this slide tells you something about it. So this is an important slide because we are going to use this idea. So all of you have done a course on numerical analysis. I believe everybody has done numerical linear algebra or numerical analysis. Have you been exposed to that? Do you know how to calculate numerically the derivative? Everyone? Yeah, can you please respond?
Sir, we have studied about difference equations in signals and systems.
No, difference equations are fine, but how to take a derivative of a signal? Suppose I give you a vector. I want to take the derivative of that vector. How will you do it? Have you studied numerical analysis?
No, sir.
You must have studied.
So
You
we'll
might have
do
forgotten.
it in x direction, y direction, z direction, and we'll make
No, I just give you a vector, nothing more. Okay. So using the values in that vector, how would you compute the derivative of that vector? So take a look at the first column. So the first row in the first column gives you a signal x of n. Okay. So you can use two different formulas to calculate the derivative. So you are going to derive along the x-axis, that is along the time axis. So you can use the forward difference and you can use the backward difference. So there are two different formulas by which you can calculate the difference. Who is trying to enter now? Already 40 minutes inside the class. So you can do x of n minus x of n minus 1. That is the backward difference. And you can compute the derivative. Or you can do x of n plus 1 minus x of n. So that is the forward difference. Okay. So this is something that you should understand. And you take a look at the signal in the second column, first row, that is a discrete sinusoid. And you take a look at the second row of the second column. X of n plus x of n plus 1 minus x of n is giving you a cosine signal. Are you able to understand? That is a cosine signal. That is a derivative of the first signal. So suppose I give you the values in the first signal as a vector. Coming back to my question, that I give you a vector and I ask you to calculate the derivative of that vector. So what will you do to calculate the derivative? you will use either the forward difference or the backward difference. That is the idea. Understood? So similarly for the other two signals, so one is the unit step signal. So if you take the unit step signal and take the derivative, then you get a unit delta, the delta impulse, that is the Kronecker delta. So that is shown in the third row and fourth row of the first column. And similarly, if you have a triangular signal here, then you can get the derivative as a signum function, that is the flipped version of the signum function in the fourth row, fourth column, or second column, fourth row, second column. So this is an important operation at how to calculate derivative of a vector containing sample values. It is something that you should know. Similarly, integral. So we have systems called accumulator or the summer. So we will learn later that the accumulator or the summer, is it a linear system or not a linear system? So an FIR filter with weights in it can be a summer, and it can perform a weighted summation. So the FIR filter with different weights can perform weighted summation. If all the weights of the FIR filter are 1, then it performs just as accumulator. So this is an idea of how to do integration in the discrete domain, and the operation is summation m equal to minus infinity to n, the signal h of m. So you integrate from the left side and you calculate the area under the curve. Okay. Okay, shall I go ahead? So even and odd signals in the discrete domain, just like we had in the continuous time domain. Similarly, in the discrete domain, we also have the even and odd signals. So we have the even function coming here as g of n is equal to g of minus n, and the odd function is defined as g of n equal to minus of g of minus n. And you can find out the even part and the odd part of any signal, of any discrete signal, by using this formula. Okay, so I have not been taking attendance, so let me take attendance today. Okay, so you can go through the slide, the material which I had talked about in the previous class about products of even and odd functions, and you can relate it with the discrete signals also. So today I will take attendance because attendance is necessary, and I did not take attendance in the last two classes, but today let me take attendance. So I'm just going to directly enter attendance in ERP. So I cannot change this later. So you should be careful that attendance is necessary, although we are doing online classes. So I'm going to log into my ERP and I'm going to call out the names and enter the attendance. Just 2 minutes. I'm just logging into my ERP and finding out. Okay, Shubham Meena, are you there? Shubham Meena, absent. Are you able to hear me, everyone? A.
Yes.
Yashwant,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Shubham Meena is absent. A. Yashwant. A. Yashwant is also absent. Ambatu Guru Rajesh Kumar Reddy. Rajesh Reddy, absent. Arnav. Now one should know that I cannot change this attendance. Once I enter in ERP, it is finished. So if you don't respond, then you are marked absent. Arnav. Prakash Chauhan. Siddharth Dave. Divyanshu Kumar. G. Anusha.
Present, sir.
Kirti Varsit. K. Kirti Varsit. Akshay Sai Reddy. Akshay Sai Reddy, absent. Lohit. Madhu Kumari Meena.
Present, sir.
P. Srutish Kumar. P. Srutish Kumar. Rahul Agarwal. Sumed Lodi.
Yes,
Utkarsh
sir.
Agarwal. Sumed, are you there? Sumed Lodi.
Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay. Utkarsh Agarwal.
Present, sir.
V. Kushulu.
Present, sir.
Velupula Kushulu. Okay.
Present, sir.
Sai Nishant.
Present, sir.
B. Sai Rohit. B. Sai Rohit, absent. Divyansh Singh.
Present, sir.
Harshit, okay. Harshit Kumar Barnwal.
Present, sir.
Ishan Bhutani. Ishan is absent. Jayesh.
Yes, sir.
Laj Parihar.
Present, sir.
Manavendra Singh Kushwaha. Manavendra Singh. M. Sai Prem.
Present, sir.
Nitish Kannan. Nitish Kumar.
Present, sir.
P. Amruta.
Present, sir.
Pranjal Singh.
Present, sir.
Pratyush Jaiswal. Pranjal Singh. Pranjal Singh.
Present, sir. Pranjal Singh present.
Okay. Pratyush Jaiswal. Pratyush Jaiswal, absent. Ravi Kumar Meena. Ritik Raj.
Present, sir.
Sanket K. Sanket. Y. Lakshmi Priyanka.
Present, sir.
Chinmay Chakrabarti. Rituraj Datta.
Present, sir.
J. Niruddin. Jiruwala Niruddin. J. Nuruddin, absent. Abhinav Japesh.
Present, sir.
Abrar Hussain.
Present,
Abhishek
sir.
Reddy.
Present,
Aman
sir.
Kumar Sharma.
Present,
Ankit
sir.
Kumar. Debraj
Present, sir.
Kumaji.
Present, sir.
Venkat Manohar Krishna.
Present, sir.
P. Cherisha. P. Cherisha. Absent. Subhadip Mandal.
Present, sir.
Vibhanshu Ranjan.
Present, sir.
Yash Harkavat. Yash Harkavat. Abhijay Mitra.
Present, sir. Abhijay Mitra.
Abhinav Kumar Jha. Abhinav Jha, Absent. Anshul Rajendra.
Present, sir.
B. Aruna Naik. B. Arun Naik. Absent. Vibhu Ranjan Jena.
Present, sir.
Chiranjeevi Saksham.
Present, sir.
G. Jhansi Sri Soumya.
Soumya present, sir.
Sir Mohammad Mohsin Kalim.
Present, sir.
Nilayan Sikdar. Nilayan Sikdar. Ravi Prakash Prasad.
Present, sir.
Raghavendra Day. Raghavendra Day. Rajarshi Saha.
Yes, sir.
Siddharth Porwal.
Present, sir.
Sohan Parida. Sohan Parida. Absent. Swarnim Raj.
Present, sir.
Yukta. Yukta.
Present, sir.
Okay. Gaurang Kaushik.
Present.
Gaurang Kaushik Mohta. Gaurang Mohta. You are there? I saw you there. Gaurang Mohta, where are you? Shreyash Bapodia. Shreyash Bapodia. Not there. Devapriya Mukherjee. Absent. Payal Kumari Agarwal. Absent. Jagriti Agarwal.
Present, sir.
Kumar Tanmay.
Present.
Present, sir.
Tanu Saraf.
Present, sir.
Sahit Kumar.
Present, sir.
Ankan Biswas. Ankan Biswas. Satish Pawan Kalyan.
Present, sir.
Sai Kalyan. K. Sai Kalyan. Misala Srikant. Rohit Yogesh.
Present, sir.
Snehalata Singh.
Present, sir.
Sohini Roy.
Present, sir.
T. Ratan Raj. T. Ratan Raj is absent.
Hello, sir. Sir, here is Manvendra. Sir, there was some issue with my mic.
Yeah, please keep your microphones proper. Otherwise, you will be marked absent. K. Lakshman Pradeep Kashyap.
Present, sir.
Absent.
Present, sir.
Yeah, please respond. Na? Yeah, Lakshman Pradeep, you are present, right? Shubhesh Anand. Shubhesh Anand. Sarthak Batra. Prasann Kumar.
Present, sir.
Rushita V. Rushita V. Sarayu Rose.
Present, sir.
Divyanshu Arun Shet.
Present, sir.
A.D. Venmani.
Present, sir.
Mannan Venkateswaralu.
Present, sir.
Madhukar Gosula.
Present, sir.
Jaivir Kumar.
Present, sir.
Jaivir Kumar.
Yes, sir. Present,
Ayush
sir.
Garg. Sanjeev Krishnan.
Present, sir.
Avinash Tripathi. Avinash Tripathi.
Present, sir.
Avinash, you are there?
Present, sir. Yes, sir.
I am hearing two voices. I am hearing two voices. Avinash Tripathi, are you there?
Sir, I am. Yes, sir, I am there, sir.
Yeah, why am I hearing two voices? Acha, G. Janaki.
Present, sir.
K. Venkateswara Rao.
Present, sir.
Saurabh Singh. Saurabh Singh. Satya Prakash.
Present, sir. Present, sir.
Satya Prakash, you are there?
Yes, sir. I am present.
Satyam Jha.
Present, sir. Satyam, sir.
Okay. So Like I'll be taking attendance now because attendance is vital and we are supposed to report attendance. And those who are absent, I will see for 3 classes continuously. If you are continuously absent for 3 classes, you will be deregistered. So be careful.
Sir, have you
So
marked
if
my
you are
attendance?
no, like whatever is done, okay? So now don't tell me anything more. So if you people don't respond at time and if you are not present for 3 classes at a time, then I will deregister. So this is very strict and we have given instructions from the HOD. So we have been given instructions by the HOD that you people have to be present. And if you are not there, then we have to remove you. Okay. So
Excuse.
So if you have any doubts in the class, you can ask me. Otherwise, we are at the end of the class. We will continue next week.
Thank you, sir.